In this edition of Campaign Countdown, we will focus exclusively on the county commissioner race and specifically on the re-election campaign of Mr. Keith Baker. This is Campaign Countdown.
Keith, a lot of people have no idea what a county commissioner does, and hence why this election even matters. So, what does a typical day look like for a county commissioner?
Well, the truth is there's no typical day. I mean, I wake up pretty early. Fortunately, I've always been an early riser. So I wake up, read the local newspaper, the online paper, the print paper, which is primarily online now, listen to the local radio news. I read the Denver paper. I listen to Colorado Public Radio to get the state news and perhaps hear things that are going to impact Chaffee County and things that we might have to deal with that are external to Chaffee County. So we can't just have our focus so narrowly attuned to the county that we might miss something going on in adjacent counties which are going to be important to us or impact us. I start going through emails. I kind of triage those. I have the ones which you might say, they're clip services. These are little news collection services. And you read through some of those, you see what the national news might be that might impact us, what's going through Congress that has an impact on funding, what's going through Congress that might have an impact on our public lands and transportation bills, those things that are in my issues portfolio, which I pay attention to, like public lands, like transportation, like jobs, education, and some of those sorts of things. And then I kind of rank those in order of what do I need to work on based on those and kind of establish some priorities. And that kind of sets me out for the day. And then, of course, I'm up, showered, dressed, because I find that if I don't do that stuff, if I'm one of those people that, especially now, with COVID, about working from home, if I try to work in sweat clothes or gym clothes or something like that, I'm just not quite as focused as I am if I feel like I'm dressed and ready to go to work. And so I get really busy. And then I usually wait until about 9 a.m. or so before I start making phone calls because people are up. They want to have breakfast. They want to go through their morning routine. So it's usually about 9 o'clock. If we don't have any meetings or anything, I really start working the phone. And I never get to everybody that I want to whenever I'm making phone calls or answering phone calls. It seems like if there's a list of 10 people, I'll get to maybe 7 of them if I'm lucky, and then 3 go over to the next day. So I know sometimes people don't think I call them back fast enough, but I get to them just as quickly as I possibly can. And then there's always meetings. Now with Zoom meetings, it does save a little bit on travel time, but there's a whole different kind of fatigue related to an online meeting. I don't know how to describe it, but you just feel tired in a different way at the end of the day if you have a lot of Zoom meetings. So those can be very tiring. And I like to go out and I like to walk the land with people. I was able to go out today and do a site visit with a resident and look at something that they have there with some lot lines and some other adjustments and things that need to be made, researching deeds and looking at all that stuff. That's what I really enjoy is getting outdoors, looking at drainage, looking at fences, looking at ditches, looking at trails, looking at roads that need to be maintained, all that sort of stuff, getting outside, getting out of the cubicle or getting out of the house as it is now. Those are really enjoyable things to do. And then by then, if I can get a workout in or something, go for a run or lift or go rollerblading or go for a bike ride or something that a physical activity, that really helps me decompress and stay adjusted. And then have dinner, and then it's time to go back to answering emails and reading news and reading news clip services and those things to start getting ready for the next day. And by then, it's about time for bed. So it's a rich, full day. It's not a part-time job anymore to do it right. And at the rate Chaffee County is growing and the level of problems or level of challenges that we have now, it's certainly, it uses all your skills. It uses everything you brought and then some.
What are a couple of the projects that you're working on now?
Well, in addition to helping our public health department and our human services department, our municipalities, our schools, and everyone else manage the COVID-19 pandemic, We are continuing to work on the comprehensive plan update. As I've said, just because you have a pandemic doesn't mean the wheels of governance stop turning. We have to keep things moving. We have to keep our normal processes going on. So the comprehensive plan update is one that we're working on right now. It is a big, strategic level, significant project, and we're in our, we hope, third and final draft. We're getting public input on that, getting public comment, and it will go through another revision cycle, and then maybe it will be ready for the Planning Commission to look at and review. It's kind of a misunderstanding that it isn't the County Commissioner's comprehensive plan. It really isn't the Planning Commission's comprehensive plan. It's the community's comprehensive plan, and that's why we want a lot of public input. We sought a lot of public input early on, and we did get a lot of public input. You never get as much as you'd like, and people always feel like they weren't listened to. But it's kind of like the question that was asked earlier. We have lots of different constituencies. One of the lessons of the playground is it isn't always going to be all your way all the time. If you get a portion of what you wanted, you get a large chunk of what you wanted, and then others feel the same way, then it truly is a community plan. And that's what we want it to be. But the Planning Commission is really the entity that is tasked by statute with developing and presenting and adopting what is called by statute the master plan at the county level, but generically everybody calls it the comprehensive plan, so I'm not going to try to push that up the hill. I'll just go with comp plan as well. So that's a big one. And then this time of year right now, we're always working on the budget, because the budget is really in a very meaningful way a testament to what the county's priorities are. You can say our priority is roads and bridges, our priority is child care, our priority is affordable housing, but then look at the budget and see where the dollars are allocated, where the resources are committed, and that will tell you what the true priorities are. If something is just getting lip service, or if it's really being treated as a priority topic, a priority issue, and it's something that you're really working on. Without that resource commitment, it really doesn't mean anything other than just what you're saying. So I'd say those are the two big ones, comp plan and budget right now. And then an earlier question that I've answered is the land use code is a second term project, and continuing to work on having that collaborative spirit, that cooperative spirit here in the county with the municipalities, all the different entities, the special districts, and the county government working together to make things happen.
Keith, as County Commissioner, you've accomplished a lot. What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the comprehensive plan update, which we embarked on for a variety of reasons. One, we had to overcome some bureaucratic inertia and some cultural friction to get it underway. It had been over 20 years since we've updated the comprehensive plan, so a lot of people were a bit fearful of trying to embark on something that big because we hadn't done one. We didn't have much staff experience. Our Planning Commission did not have any experience at updating a comprehensive plan. So there were lots of misgivings about embarking on a project that big. And then just getting all the things together to launch on the program with the consulting agencies, the grant that we got from our Department of Local Affairs, our staff coordination in-house, and then the interviewing process with the different consulting agencies, selecting a consultant, and then getting the thing on track. That was a big part. And then the other component that makes me very proud of the comprehensive plan update is that's going to be probably the biggest thing that this Board of County Commissioners will do that has a lasting long-term effect on the future of the county. We're setting the course of the county, and as I said, it's been 20 years since we've updated the comprehensive plan, so this will be a very meaningful thing, a very meaningful event for the county to be updating it.
And as a follow-up, what are you most excited about to do if you're reelected?
Well, this is a follow-up to the comprehensive plan. What follows on next, and all planning models have their weaknesses. There's the cyclical models, which show things happening in a certain order, and then you repeat, and then there's certain things where this comes at first, and this thing comes second, and so on. And they're all kind of an amalgam in the real world. But would be the land use code update. It's kind of the natural follow-on to a major comprehensive plan update. And one thing that's always been a criticism about our planning documents here in Chaffee County and policy is that our land use code doesn't really synchronize and support the comprehensive plan. And the next land use code, we want to make sure that it does. And a second feature that we want with our newer land use code is we really want it to be truly streamlined. The current land use code was supposedly streamlined, but what it is it's silent on a lot of things that should just require an administrative approval so that people can get their project approved very quickly. Right now, because it's silent on so many things, it takes a long, drawn-out process to go through the Planning Commission, and even though it's not highly regulatory, it winds up being very time-consuming, and that's just not fair to anybody.
Our county has grown considerably over the last decade, and growth has made the population more diverse. We are a community of ranchers, small business owners, residents, and tourists. How do you make sure everyone's needs are met?
Well, it's tough to make sure that everyone's needs are met, but the big thing, I think, to be a county commissioner is to understand you represent everybody, and you have to put yourself in everyone's shoes at one time or another. You have to try to look at the world and look at life from their point of view. One of the reasons that many of us live here is because of our ag community. So that makes me very sympathetic, if not empathetic, to the ranching community and understanding that they want to maintain their lifestyle. They want to maintain their way of life and their way of work, and we need them to. We need production agriculture to be able to feed ourselves and feed our children, and we want to do it in a way that keeps it viable, because one of the reasons that we live here, one of the things that we love about Chaffee County is the ranch lands and the open space and being able to see cattle whenever we drive to and from Salida. That's one of the reasons we like the West. I said the other night somewhere, that's the reason Yellowstone is such a highly rated TV show, is people in Cleveland, people in Los Angeles, people wherever, for that hour Sunday evening, they get to pretend they're living in the Mountain West in ranch country. And we get to have that and experience here. For the residents and for people that live here, not everybody is in production ag. There are a lot of people who work in other fields of endeavor, and we want to make sure that they're able to do that with adequate broadband. We want to make sure that it's reliable, that it has good throughput, and those are things that we're always working on there. And then we are a tourism-based economy to a great extent. We have to be conscientious about what our lodgers' needs are, what our dining facilities' needs are, and we have to have a good, steady, solid workforce for all those people.
What are the most pressing needs for our schools that you, as a county commissioner, can help to address?
Probably the biggest need for our schools that the county commissioners can address is broadband access, reliable broadband, and good bandwidth. Our schools are doing much more remote instruction now, and they probably will continue to do so in a post-COVID world. A lot of the testing and a lot of other things that are educational based rely on the internet and rely on broadband. Libraries now are called media centers, and one of the big media that they use is broadband. It needs to be reliable, it needs to be fast, and it needs to have great bandwidth so it can download higher capacity videos, higher capacity textbooks, higher capacity any sort of educational materials, and do it reliably and rapidly. That's the thing that I think county commissioners can really impact, because so much of it depends on regulations at the federal and state level, grant funding for better opportunities, and making sure that we have a reliable, well-trained workforce here locally to maintain our end of it. So I'd say the biggest thing we can do for the schools is broadband.
You clearly live a life of service, Keith, from serving in our country in the Navy and serving our community in many different ways, including as county commissioner. Why did you choose this path of service, and why do you continue to choose this life?
Well, honestly, it wasn't so much that I chose the life of service, at least when I embarked on it. It kind of chose me. And a lot of the other kids I grew up with chose it for me. I was always kind of the leader of the team or what have you in Sunday school and in school. When I was a freshman in high school, they chose me to be president of my freshman class. They chose me to be president of the senior class again 3 years later. And it was something that I just enjoyed doing. I enjoyed organizing and getting people together and defining a goal and getting everybody to working toward that goal. And sometimes it was tough. It was tough to get a bunch of 14-year-old kids to all pull in the same direction. But that was really a blessing, because it taught me at a very young age that even though they had chosen me to be the president of the class or the leader of the team, that it didn't automatically mean everybody was going to line up and follow me or do whatever I thought was the best way to do things. I needed to find out what their points of view were, what their perspectives on things, get their ideas, and try to synthesize them all together so that they all knew that they had some ownership, that they had some interest in the effort, and that they would pull together. That was something that was very, very good to learn at a very young age, and I found out it was a challenge that I enjoyed standing up to, measuring up to, and working on. And so later on, all through college, I was president of my fraternity and a leader in my fraternity at different times. And then when I got into the Navy, I was an officer in the Navy. So my primary task, my primary job was to take care of my people and make sure that their needs were met, make sure that they had all the tools and the training and everything that they needed in order to do their jobs. And that was the way I looked at it, was take care of my people and they take care of everything else. Take care of the sailors, they'll take care of the squadron, they'll take care of the ship. And that's just kind of been my course in life, is to try to shape things, try to shape the future, try to look out ahead, and try to anticipate events and prepare for them, and do the best I can to leave things in a better situation than I found them.
What have you done in the past, and what do you plan to do to ensure good jobs are available in Chaffee County?
I've supported the Economic Development Corporation and supported our chambers of commerce and all the small business efforts in the county. With COVID-19, one of the things that I've done is to try my best to get good, accurate information out about what the programs are, what the various grant programs and funding programs are for small businesses, to try to advocate on behalf of small businesses to get certain relaxations in place when they make sense without placing people's health at risk, to make sure that they stay in business, not just for the businesses themselves, but understanding that the businesses are primary employers here in the county, that the people who are working for a living, the people who are working for an hourly wage to feed their families, to shelter their families, and to send their kids to school, those small businesses are their employers. So it isn't just the businesses we're taking care of, it's their employees. We helped sponsor the Small Business Development Center, which is a regional center, between a cooperative effort between Chaffee, Lake, and Park counties, and the EDC did the heavy lifting on making that happen. But we were a big sponsor of that, we being the county commissioners, to get that up and in place. And then there's something that I think is very exciting, and that is what we called vocational technical education when I was a kid growing up, but now it's called career technical education, or CTE. And we're probably not a big enough county. We probably don't have enough rooftops and enough kids to have a dedicated VOTEC school or a community college that does that kind of school. But we have the Colorado Mountain College here now, and I believe they're interested in helping us do something for vocational technical, or CTE. And we can get our high schools to cooperate with that. Where I went to high school, we didn't have a true VOTEC curriculum there at the school, but we had one in the county, and all the different schools in the county. We had like 4 or 5 high schools in the county. Our vocational students would go to that school, and they had a center there. So things like, engine repair, electronics repair, cosmetology, and those sorts of things that for kids who either aren't academically inclined or aren't interested in going to college, they have something that they can do. And it also supports the employment picture here in the county, because we do have a lot of those jobs. We do have a lot of those needs here in Chaffee County. So let's educate and train locally and then employ locally, so those kids don't have to leave and go down to the Front Range or somewhere and make lodging arrangements, living arrangements, on top of trying to learn a new job skill. Let's do it while they're in high school on a parallel track, and keep them here at home and help them learn a good trade while they're here at home.
Well, thanks again for joining us, folks, and be sure to tune in again next Wednesday night at 7 p.m.